There's a particularly powerful and life-changing mitzvah that's especially relevant this time of year. It's called Teshuva. It's the central focus of the days of all, which actually are also called the 10 days of Teshuva. So there must be something awesome about Teshuva, right? Let's go see what Teshuva is all about. Rabbi Yisroel Roll says as follows: sometimes we fall short in carrying out our spiritual responsibilities. We all make mistakes. We make errors, hopefully not bloopers. An error is called a Chet in Hebrew. It's not a sin. That word comes from an inaccurate translation of the Bible. The word Chet comes from the word lahachti, which means to miss the mark, like when you shoot a bow and arrow and you miss the target. So Chet means we distance ourselves from God. But when we're doing our spiritual responsibilities, we are on the mark. We get closer to God, and our relationship with God is strengthened, and we place ourselves in God's spiritual frequency, becoming more godlike. Closing up the distance between us and God created through a Chet can be done through Teshuva, returning to the path of responsibility, getting back on track and back in sync with God's mind. So Teshuva removes the blockage or layer over the soul that has blocked a direct connection with God, and repairing that mistake bridges the distance. Let's go a step further. Rabbi Dr. Kiva Tatz explains that Teshuva is really about changing at a deep level of the self, recasting that self in a new image by wanting something different than what was desired previously. And this change in desire essentially redefines you and recreates you in an entirely new way, to the extent that your previous self has disappeared. You're no longer the person who did such and such a transgression that distanced you from the source of creation. In other words, Teshuva is really a return to the pristine state that existed before the transgression. It's a return to the original pure personality, to a former version of the self, a more authentic version of who you could be. In fact, the word Teshuva means return. There's actually a book called Returning to the Self by Rabbi Jeremy Kagan. He explains that Teshuva is a process where we look at what we do and realize we have become someone who is not really us. We reject the self we have become. We push it away so that a new self can emerge. Not someone else's self, but a self genuinely representative of who we are in essence, so that we can be more ourselves. Since the root of our being emanates from the Creator and desires to reconnect to Him, by doing Teshuva we become a more fundamental expression of ourselves, centered in a deeper place, more closely aligned with our root self emanating from the Creator. The more superficial facet of our personality is no longer part of us. This is how Teshuva cleanses us. We don't remove transgressions from ourselves so much as we actually remove ourselves from the transgression. So the mitzvah of Teshuva is a fundamental way to elevate the days of all over the days of the fall, and Yom Kippur is loaded with opportunities for it. Next on the list is the upcoming festival of Sukkot, so stay tuned.